Hello Internet viewers and welcome to the WorldCoin Network video education series. I'm Christopher Deem and this is Justin Birmingham from Real Wealth Enabled. For those of you who aren't familiar with our video series, what we try to do here is take common questions and give you brief but detailed answers to them. This series is entitled Timing, Justin, and what we're talking about is timing as it relates to the purchase of gold and silver. One of the most frequently asked questions we get is when is the right time to buy gold and silver?
Certainly.
And I know that you've brought some examples and are going to show them to our viewers to explain why any time really is the best time to buy gold and silver.
Absolutely. Obviously, price is always one of the biggest arguments against gold and silver in most people's minds. They don't understand what it is that drives gold and silver or how to figure out what its value is. So I'm going to try to explain that a little bit. And the first thing I do is I try to ask them, hey listen, in 1998 the price of gold was $294 an ounce. Was it too high then, or did you buy gold and silver at that point? Actually, in 1998 the argument was against gold because it was too low.
Okay.
Almost ironic, right? In 10 years, gold went up to $872 per ounce in 2008.
A 4 times increase.
Basically, yeah, three times. Yeah, 3 times. 3 times it increased in that 10-year period. And of course, then the argument was that's too high. $872. That's unsustainable. It's just too high. That's like the 1980 price.
Okay.
My question is still, did you buy or was that too high?
Right.
Because today the price of gold is quickly heading towards $2,000. I believe it'll be there very soon. When you think about that in context, you have to ask yourself why. Why would this trend be going on? And I don't have time in this video to explain the actual trend, but the dynamics that cause gold and silver to go up haven't changed one bit in all of this time. Yet all we hear is that gold is too high. It's in a bubble. So say the experts who have some kind of an investment product they're trying to push on you. But in essence, the argument is that it's too high. Now, obviously, we would encourage you to do your own research, and we encourage that because in the end, we're confident you're going to come to the same conclusions we've come to. But what we're going to do right now is just try to explain. You've heard us talk about protecting your purchasing power in gold and silver in the past.
Right, we've done a video on that.
Exactly. So we're going to expound on that just a little bit here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show some examples of what we mean by inflation and by currency expansion and things like that.
Okay.
Right now, the official rate of inflation is between 3 and 5%. Now, I'm going to set that issue aside right now because it's not actually the issue I want to address. What I'm actually going to address is the Fed and the fact that they print more and more currency. By doing that, they're devaluing the currency that you currently possess. By doubling the amount of money in the system, so to speak, you decrease the value of the currency in your pocket in direct relation to the amount of currency you're printing.
Okay.
So it starts off with a 1-to-1 ratio. $1 equals 1 pi in this chart. If this pi was 1 silver ounce, $1 would equal 1 silver ounce.
Okay.
Which is where it started out in the United States. But by printing $2 to represent the same pi, the same ounce of silver, you've essentially devalued the dollar that's in somebody's pocket by 50%.
Okay.
So it's like a hidden inflation in a way. The more of this paper that they print to represent the same pi, the less that those dollars are worth. In this particular picture right here, it would take 3 of those dollars to buy the whole pie. But there's still only 1 pi.
So it continues to take more dollars to buy the same amount.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're just simply devaluing the currency that's in your pocket. So when America started out, we had what was called the gold standard, and it was set at the time that $1, one paper dollar that was printed, was to represent 1 ounce of silver in a vault. Okay? That was what we called the gold standard.
They call it the gold standard, but it's really gold and silver.
It's gold and silver, and they call it the gold standard for simplicity's sake, but it was essentially the principle that our money was backed by precious metals, gold and silver.
Okay, so a fairly simple concept. 1 ounce of silver is $1 US.
That was the original.
Okay.
That's the
and
way.
What's transpired since then?
And to this day, by the way, on a 1 ounce coin American silver dollar, it still says 1 silver dollar, even though it will cost you much more than $1 to buy it.
But things have changed since then.
Things have changed since then. But we start off in the United States with a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 silver dollar note represents 1 ounce of silver. So there's your 1-to-1 ratio. Today, it would take roughly $40, maybe even a little more, to buy that same silver ounce. That means that our currency supply has been increased, or the money in your pocket has been devalued 40 times since its original value was set.
Okay, so a lot of people hear that, but I don't think they can actually visualize what that means.
Here you go.
Okay.
This is a 40-to-1 ratio. Now, if you
Wow.
remember, originally I showed 2, then 3.
Right.
This is what it would take today to buy that 1 silver ounce, or in this case, this 1 pi.
Okay.
That's how much our money has been devalued, how much more they've printed since the original value of a $1 was set.
Okay.
So what does that mean for you out there? Basically, it means that if you're saving your money in a currency, in the bank, or sticking it under a mattress somewhere, you're losing purchasing power every time they turn those printing presses on. And that totally excludes inflation. So let's see an example of exactly how this works. If you had $1,000 in 2005, and you used that $1,000 in 2005 to buy gasoline at $1.77 a gallon, you would be able to buy 565 gallons of gas
Okay.
in '05.
All right.
If you had used that same $1,000 to buy gold, which that year averaged $445 an ounce, you would be able to purchase 2¼ ounces of gold
All right.
in 2005. Now,
That's only 6 years ago.
6 years ago. If you had saved that $1,000, which is what people essentially do, they shove their money into a mattress or a bank or whatever they do to save their money. If you saved that $1,000 for that 6 years and pulled it out from underneath the mattress today, it would still have a face value of $1,000. But what would it buy you?
Mm-hmm.
So gas today is around $3.60 a gallon, right? That means that you would only be able to buy 278 gallons of gasoline with that same $1,000. Gold today is over $1,800. As we speak, it's over $1,800. I don't see that coming down much, if at all, but right now it's definitely over $1,800, which means that that same $1,000 would only buy you a ½ an ounce of gold.
Wow.
So if you had bought the gold in 2005 with
Instead
your
of
$1,000,
just saving the 1,000.
instead of saving it and sticking it under your mattress or whatever, if you had bought 2¼ ounces of gold in 2005 with that same $1,000 and sold it at fair market value today around $1,800, the gold that you purchased then would be worth $4,050 by today's dollars.
A huge increase.
It's a pretty good sized increase. Actually, it's, that's 4 times the money that you originally spent.
Right.
But that will show you the difference between saving in a currency versus saving in a solid asset like gold and silver. By way of comparison, it also means that you'd be able to buy 1,125 gallons of gasoline after
Wow.
you sold your 2¼ ounces of gold. Just so that you understand the difference here, that's a difference of 847 gallons of gasoline.
Just by putting my money into a different savings vehicle.
Just by using a different vehicle to save your wealth in it.
In
as
this case,
opposed to-
gold and silver.
Right, as opposed to essentially a printed representation of money, currency note.
Okay.
The worst part about this whole example that I've just given is it doesn't even take into account the official 3 to 5% inflation rate that I mentioned early on. Right now we've only talked about them printing more money
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to any of the other aspects involved. Now, the worst part about this is I don't know many people whose salary base has gone up since 2005. As a matter of fact, it's kind of the reverse. More people's salaries have gone down while the cost of living has actually gone up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean it's kind of a twisted scenario where things have spun around here.
So they're printing more money, devaluing the currency, and people are in turn making less while the cost of living goes up.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the worst part is that the printing presses are running at full steam, which is expanding the supply of currency that we have, which is devaluing our money. The U.S. still spends far more than it makes. Everybody's perfectly aware of what's going on with our politics right now. The big argument is budget control and spending control, and they just don't seem to have a willpower to do it. I don't know about you, but do you see any meaningful policy changes or political reforms coming down the pike? I mean,
not with what's currently going on.
Yeah, I don't know many people who would answer that question positively. Most people would say, no, I really don't see anything substantial changing.
Mhm.
So the real question I have to ask you is the timing right for saving in gold and silver? I mean, isn't it time to perhaps think a little bit differently about what we use as a vehicle of savings? It's just time to think a little differently to protect yourself here. And obviously these are questions that I can't answer for every individual. They're questions you have to answer for yourself. But perhaps it's just time to reevaluate the vehicle you use for saving, what your savings plan is.
And that's really what we're trying to get out there to you viewers, is we want you to start thinking about your savings plan, trying to show you the difference between a currency and a physical vehicle such as gold and silver. As you've seen in the examples, they retain their purchasing power, and you can buy far more today, or equal or more today, than you could with just the cash from 5-6 years ago.
That's right.
As always, we tell you that we're not investment advisors. What we are trying to show you a way to save your money and retain your purchasing power. We always encourage you to make smart decisions with your money, do your own research, come back, watch our videos, and see that what we're saying to you is the truth. Please make informed decisions, and thank you for joining us this time.